Dan Tom here with Home of Fight, here with head coach, Xtreme Couture MMA, Eric Nicksick, also host of the Versus Show, which you can find on YouTube. Eric, what's up, dude?
Dude, this is so cool. Like me and you in our spot, 18 years, grinding. Now we're interviewing and we're talking about fights. Like, this is it.
Yeah, usually I would just be rolling in here and he'd be yelling at me, to get on the mats or something. But we are off the mats here today, but we are to talk about, mat-related action, or I should say octagon-related action. We got a big June coming up, UFC 316 this weekend. You've got a slate of fighters. We're going to get to all that, but I do want to get to some of your fighter stable up top. Obviously, you work with a ton of fighters, some closer than others, but your main guys. I mean, Dan Ige just signed an amazing fight. Obviously, we're excited about it, but how do you guys feel getting a name like, Pitbull across the slate for you?
Oh, it's an honor, right? Like, I mean, we've been watching Pitbull for years, competed against him with Jeremy Kennedy. This is a great matchup for Dan, especially where you're talking about two stylistic, like almost the same guys, right? But I feel like Dan is kind of that new cutting edge version, and where, we saw Pitbull to where, he's getting older, right? But he's Pitbull. You still got to mind your P's and Q's versus a guy like him. Super excited for the matchup, and I'm looking forward to New Orleans.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, I'm glad you mentioned JBC, of course, Jeremy Kennedy there, that is his nickname. He already fought him, so I know you have your extensive notes and profiles. I'm not asking you to give away trade secrets, but how fast do you kind of do the study as far as you get the name across your desk? I know fighters vary as far as how much they like to tape study, but we know you don't shortcut the work. When does your homework start, Coach?
I'm kind of a nerd anyway, so I'm actually watching tape more not for the tape study of how we're going to beat the guy. Sometimes I'm just watching tape to learn from Pitbull, or like Kai Kamaka and I will do this all the time. We'll just spend a day or two or a week or two on just like, hey, this week we're going to watch Sergio Pettis, or we're going to watch Piotr Yan. And we're just going to try to pick up new things. So Pitbull should be one of those guys like that. I think for me, that's like, especially with the Izzy fight, I watched so much of Izzy not to break down to try to, corner against, to learn from, So I want to take that information that I learned from Izzy and apply it to a guy like Mansoor or somebody else. So my tape study is always going to be there, but sometimes it's just really for me to grow.
Now, we had even newer guys to the gym like Zach Reese, who competed a couple weeks ago, and he talked about the note-sharing aspect. He was able to fight or face a similar opponent that Puna and other guys, Mansoor, recently fought. So do you have a similar kind of information lineage you can kind of grab from that notebook? Oh, this is from the Jeremy Kennedy camp. Here's the notes here, and kind of go off that.
Sure, and then you just have to be careful of understanding that the different skill sets between each of your athletes, right? Like Jeremy's a very different style of fighter than Dan Ige is. So where Dan's going to be in and out of different stances, where Jeremy's very conventional. We know his style is more for grappling. So with Jeremy, we're trying to blend a lot of our level changes into his striking. So you can get caught up in trying to copy and paste a game plan, but the problem with that is you got to have different styles and ideologies for each athlete.
Right. And again, not to, tier any of the fighters or anything like that. There's just so many fighters to work with. And it's honestly hard to know which ones, you're closer to, because you have such a good natural rapport, even if you're like a first-time corner with the guy. But obviously we know you're tight with, not just tight, but you were family with Francis Ngannou. Oh, yeah. So obviously, he's been through some stuff. He's back home now. What's it like to kind of have Superman home, so to speak? I know he's talked about it, so you're not necessarily speaking for him, but that recharge value getting around the gym, you and your son and your family too, he's really tight with, for people that don't know.
Yeah, man, I love it. And unfortunately, when he had the tragedy with Kobe, that was my first instinct, was like, bro, just get back home, like be home, be around the people, be around the gym. And I know that re-injected life back into him, and I think that's what sparked him to fight Renan Fajeda and get back in the cage, and again, like, unfortunately he had this tragedy that was just recent, and it was almost kind of that same mindset. It's like, hey bro, come back home, get back in the gym, get back to work. And that's the one thing in life that's always been his constant, has been training, has been the gym. So when everything is kind of awry and you're not really sure where life's going, it's like, bro, get back to home, get back to the gym. The team and the family and all those, that environment's going to take care of itself.
100%. And so now that he's obviously he looks happy to be back. Yeah. Obviously he's training. I saw pictures of you, Dewey, the crew back together. That's got to feel good. Not revealing too much, no rushing or anything like that. But does he have a direction as far as where he would like to swim to right now?
Not really. I know that he's been kind of asking for that Wilder fight, and if that's something that comes up, great. I just feel like the heavyweight division as a whole is kind of in shambles. And I think that like if we can somehow, some way get this back together, there's so many options for Francis, not only in the UFC, but just around, right? Like there's so much, I think that he can help bridge that gap that the UFC is lacking in star power when it comes to the heavyweight division. I think enough time has passed. I would love to see somehow, some way that they can mend these fences and get back in competing in the UFC.
I think we all share your sentiment there, Coach. And obviously, you're friendly on all sides and you only want what's best for the fighter. But as far as the fighter himself, and again, I know you can't, nor would you speak fully for Francis, and we obviously can't speak for what's going on in Dana White's head, right? But as far as the Francis side of the equation, would he be more than willing to go to the table, you think?
Oh, 100%. I think this is more about business than it is about ego. At least it is from Francis's side. He wants the opportunity to be paid for, like, it's like being an independent contractor, like your services to be paid the highest amount for whoever needs your services for. He doesn't want to be stuck in a position where he's not allowed to go box or he's not allowed to go do these things. But he went out and did those things and he competed and he made a lot of good, a lot of money and proved that he could do it. So now where does his motivations come from, right? It's not about money, it's about competition. So, and the best competition's in the UFC.
Absolutely. And, we've been around long enough here at Xtreme Couture to see heavyweight fallouts like this go all the way back to the Randy Couture days, right? Yeah. And, we know, Dana White, he can't hold his grudge from time to time. And it almost feels like an unfair question, but do you think Dana White will come to, or do you think it would be more like, since maybe a Lorenzo Fertitta's not around, might be more of a Hunter Campbell Francis might be dealing with?
Yeah, I think Dana is a smart enough businessman that it's not about his ego, it's about what's best for his company. And I think that a guy like Dana is level-headed enough to say, like, look, like, the past is the past, and we can get through those things. If these things can work out for us in the future, why not? Why not explore those options? Because look at the heavyweight division right now, bro. What's going on, right? You got this poor guy in Tom Aspinall who's been holding on to an interim belt for almost 600 days now. Like, what are we doing here? So, and I'm not saying that Francis is the answer, but it at least adds some more value to your heavyweight division if you go out and get a guy like him and bring him back and, let bygones be bygones. Everybody's making money, everybody's happy, but it gets things moving.
Absolutely. And I got to say, I was watching your show Versus, which you also check out on YouTube, by the way. You guys had a great conversation of like what could be going on with the heavyweight division right now, right? I mean, if Francis stepped in, you could have maybe, Francis and Tom Aspinall. But I got to ask you, let's just say Tom and Francis switch places. Mm-hmm. I guess this is a two-part question. A, do you think it's more legitimate negotiation tactics holding up, or is it more on Jones's end? And B, if it is more on Jones's end, do you think he'd be doing the same thing if it was Francis?
Well, I think it's kind of a case in point to what we've been saying for a long time about the negotiations when Francis was negotiating to fight John back then in 2021 when we beat Stipe. We were ready to fight anyone that came to the table, but the negotiations weren't stalled on our end. So I think that now, over time, the truth comes to light, and we don't really have to say much about it. You're seeing what's going on now.
That is very true. I mean, if you read between the lines, it can say a lot, correct? All right. Well, I want to piggyback off that conversation though as well, because I'm curious. Like, how do you see a fight between Francis and John? I think we'd be safe to assume you'd be leaning toward your guy, no question. But how about Tom? Not your guy, Tom Aspinall versus John Jones. Let's say the drama's gone. Let's say they get it done, Eric. How does it get done?
The fight itself?
How does it go? Yeah, how does it go?
I mean, I lean towards Tom, to be honest with you. I just do. I think being able to work with Tom, just small. I mean, I've got to hold pads for him. I got to work with him, but I spoke to him more and understanding his fight IQ and understanding what he's trying to accomplish. But he has the athleticism to do those things that we speak about. Like right after John fought Stipe, Tom called me and he's like, "What'd you see?" And I was like, kind of like, "Well, boom, boom, boom." He saw the same things. But he has the skill set to back that up. I just lean towards Tom and the youth, the athleticism, and the things he's capable of doing. I think he's the new age of heavyweight.
Yeah, I think the odds makers probably would agree with you if that fight officially got set. But again, we kind of got to wait to see it. As far as more, pertinent predictions go, we got UFC 316 this weekend. Of course, it's headlined by another rematch. We got Sean O'Malley getting another crack at Merab Dvalishvili. You see that one going the same way, or does it go different?
I would like to see Sean be a little bit more, I wouldn't say reckless, but I think just a little bit more confident in his striking. I look at it like this. You're probably going to get taken down. So don't limit your striking arsenal because you don't want to get taken down. You're probably going to get taken down. So let's go, bro. Let's throw. And I think that he saw that maybe in the 4th or 5th round, if I remember correctly. He started a band, fuck it, I'm just going to go. And he was having a lot more success. Now, is that because Merab knew he already had 3 in the can or 4 in the bank and he was going to be the new champion? That's possible too. But man, I'll tell you what, it's so hard to count out a guy like Merab. Right? This dude, the fight that really jumped off the page for me was the Piotr Jan fight. When Merab did a Piotr Jan, I was like, holy shit, this dude is next level. And in his defense, I get it, he's a decision guy, but he's an entertaining decision guy. He's nonstop action. And for us that have, trained and been in there and do all these things, we understand the type of pace that it takes to be able to do that for 25 minutes straight. It's pretty damn fucking inspiring to see a guy like Merab Dvalishvili and what he's able to do.
It is, and you might not have seen him in the practice room as much as other coaches, but you have seen him in that practice room before. And I know you don't, speak out of school or anything like that, but can you at least give us enough to say, is he more of one of those game day performers where in the practice room, maybe he's getting beat by guys you wouldn't expect, or maybe other people wouldn't expect, but on fight night, he's a guy that turns it up? Is that kind of your interpretation of him?
Yes and no. I think that you also have to understand that sometimes when I see Merab, it's because he's being a partner for other guys in the room. So Merab would come in and help Patchy versus Tiger. So Merab is being a backup singer, if you will. So he's trying to give a certain look. Or when I would see Merab and Aljo, and when he would come in and help Aljo and guys like that. Sometimes Merab is more trying to be a good teammate rather than trying to win the rounds. And then especially outside of camp, Merab will come in and he'll train. And I think it's important for him to work on some of his holes or flaws. So you might not look as good as in the cage, but you're trying to shore up some of these things that you want to get better at. So I think sometimes people get lost in the sauce of I'm trying to win all my rounds in sparring. I do that with Chris Curtis all the time. When you're out of camp, I don't want you to win all your rounds. I want you to work on things to get better at. So you should be losing in here outside of camp because you're trying to grow.
That's a great point, Coach. And to stick it with the more pertinent to our orbit as far as the fighters and not going through the whole card, you mentioned Patchy Mix. Of course, he's fighting on this card. Big debut fight. He's the favorite installed over a very tough Mario Bautista. So a lot of people have a lot of interest in this fight. Obviously, they've trained, have a history with the champion Merab and Patchy. A lot of respect there, of course. Sure. But what do you make of that? You had some really interesting notes about the southpaw to southpaw and the footwork in your Versus pod. But what do you make of his debut here?
I'm just glad that Patchy's been staying in the gym. Right, so this wasn't it's a short notice call as far as the timing of when you got the notice of when the fight was. But when you're in the gym and you're constantly training, it gives you a peace of mind and ease going I know I've been preparing. I don't know for what, but I've been in the gym preparing. So, and that was something too that I think a lot of us took was when Dan Ige was able to fight on 4 hours notice. Mm-hmm. It was this dude's prepared at all times. So when that phone rings, we're able to go and get the job done. Mario is a gamer, dude. And this guy is tough. He has a skill set that can kind of stymie what Patchy's really good at. So I think it's a good test for Patchy getting into the UFC, getting those UFC jitters. He's never fought it in front of a crowd to this capacity, right? He's never fought in this environment like this. So I think that this is a great starting point for Patchy. I think you go out and do a really good job and if you can go out and get Mario out of there right away, I think it puts Patchy right in the title picture, where I heard people say maybe he needs 2 or 3 fights in there. It just kind of depends on how he can go out and dominate. If that's the case, if we win the fight, how does he win the fight, and then what's next for him? Is it going to be Corey Sandhagen? Is it going to be right away to the title? We'll see.
I think that preparation note was good, especially those of us, you've seen him in the gym, you've seen him ready, because, it's no secret. He's a big 135er, and those weight cuts are tough. I imagine the weight cut might be, no disrespect to Mario, the weight cut might be just as tough as the fight, so to speak.
100%. It always is. I mean, Patchy's a big dude at 35. He's kicked around the idea of even having to take a short notice at 45 to get him into the UFC. So that's been an option as well. But you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of times with Patchy, it's just getting the weight down and getting the weight cut. But credit to him, he didn't have a fight lined up, but he was here making himself available for the other guys that do, and in helping. By doing so, it allowed him to be able to keep his weight down and take a short notice fight like this.
And bouncing with kind of almost back to Merab, where he is going the old school way. Like he goes like no water, no food, like hardcore for the last 2 days. Now I'm not trying to judge Merab or any of the fantastic team members around him, but I got to ask you, you've trained that level of championship fighter. When you get to the championship level, is it just me being an outsider? Forgive my ignorance here, but I imagine you'd want something like that dialed in by professionals with that much money and stakes on the line, correct?
I think when it comes to the weight cuts, a lot of these guys, it's comfortability. It's like, oh, this has worked for me over time, and I feel good, and I don't want to mess this up. But I'm with you. Like science has changed over the years. Like 18 years ago, we were cutting weight and just keeping Dennis Davis in the sauna until he was dying, and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't poor Dennis. Like, well, we didn't know any better, and that is the luxury of where we're at today. Is everything has evolved, not only the sport but the science behind it, the weight cutting. Not only the weight cutting, bro, the rehydration. That's equally as important as the weight cut itself now. So lean a little bit more on the science, but I understand, because it's like, well, this has worked for me my entire career. Like, I'll go on fight trips and I'll see guys start like wearing plastics on Tuesday. It's like, wait a minute. Edmund Shabazian, Dan Ige, a lot of these guys, dude, we cut weight the morning of the weigh-ins. So we're dehydrated less, but we're doing it all right prior to the day of the weight cut. The day of the weight cut, it's like 6.5 pounds, and we're getting off in an hour and a half. And that's it. Then you're done. Then you go rehydrate. So I think it's a lot easier on the body.
Very interesting. And just moving on to your upcoming stable, you mentioned Edmund Shabazian. Of course, he's coming up with a fight here shortly. You also got guys like Kaiboy Kamaka and Tough Enough, who I would love to see back in the UFC personally. Yeah. That guy is all action all the time. Can you touch on any of these camps or how these guys are doing?
I mean, everybody, dude. Edmund's looked absolutely amazing. I couldn't be happier for him. Like, sometimes watching him and just watching him kind of understand what his purposes are now. He's not just throwing stuff out there. He's understanding that there's a direction to what he's trying to accomplish with his striking. And then, Alex Polizzi's been so great for us and giving us that look of Andre Petrowski. Mansour will be on the same card. He's got Cody Brundage, another really tough fight. You know what I mean? It's one of those. Like, Cody Brundage is a guy that can put your lights out with anything. Mansour has to really mind his P's and Q's in that fight. But it's a fight where we can go out and really show out. Kai Kamaka, yeah, he just got booked again for Tough Enough. We're hoping to get that short notice call. Sean Shelby was very happy with his last performance in the win that he had against Weems, a UFC vet. So hopefully we can get a call in between that time. But if not, we have a fight booked, and he'll be ready for Tough Enough on June 29th.
Awesome, Eric. And last one for me, a little bit of a fun one, but I got to know if you can, the Home of Fight, we do a lot of betting content, obviously. Yeah. So we got to know what your best and worst bet is. And while you collect that, I'm just going to give you my worst bet to both break the ice. And it's going to be something particular Eric can laugh about, because I don't think you can get worse than my worst bet, okay? And it was a recent Versus guest, another plug for his show, Versus. Come here a little closer, Eric. I got this one here.
Oh, sorry.
So this is, so we got, I bet on this guy named Forrest Griffin. You know who he is?
I met him.
But not just any Forrest Griffin fight. I was like, maybe, and I knew Joey Varner at the time, so maybe I should have got some inside information.
Silva?
Yeah, I bet on him to beat this guy named Anderson Silva, and all of a sudden I see the Matrix just start happening before my eyes. So rest easy that you won't look as dumb as me. No. Whatever your worst bet was.
Yeah.
I love Forrest, by the way. Love Forrest.
Worst bet? Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's those ones where you're just like, I know that this person's going to win, and like you see and everything. And there's like, I remember the Valentina Grasso fight. I was like, there's no way Grasso beats her. And then she chokes her out. Like, I remember it was like my tie into like 12 parlays or something like that. And, like one of those, you're like, oh my God. Yeah. I would say for me, the best was when Randy beat Gabe Gonzaga. Woo! That was one of my favorites.
Plus money, but I think just for the sentimental reasons of it being Randy, seeing Gabe Gonzaga knock Crow Cop out with a head kick and going like, holy shit, like Randy's got to fight this monster. I realized how good Randy was because Gabe came and trained with us after. Like we all knew how good Randy was, but until you actually got to go with Gabe Gonzaga, you're like,
holy shit, like Gabe Gonzaga's a monster, and Randy just ragdolled him. Remember, like just whooped him, high crotch to put him on his ass.
Well, you remember the monsters he was bringing in to train for that fight? Those refrigerators.
I do, bro. I do. I remember that. And then, like, you know, so that fight in particular, I think just with like the mystique of Gabe Gonzaga coming off that Crow Cop win, and then you're like, oh my God, Randy's got to fight this guy.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. So that was probably one of my best plus money picks I've ever had.
That's a great nostalgic comeback there. I got the chicken skin.
Yeah.
Eric, let's end it there. Any shouts out, plug whatever you want, your show, anything you got upcoming, and the stage is yours. Thank you for your time.
No, man, just, you know, shout out to my boy, Tony Diaz. He's fighting cancer right now. So, you can look him up on I think probably his Instagram, but he's got a GoFundMe. So if you find it in your hearts to help him, he's a great dude, great teammate of ours. He's fighting, was it, Hodgkin's lymphoma? Non-Hodgkin? Yeah. So, but I hope I didn't fucking ruin that. But anyways, yeah, Tony Diaz, love you, brother. Shout out to Tony.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, pleasure, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Good to see you, man.